I took some time to study nations across the world and groups that had succeeded. And I found out that every great nation tended to have an inspirational leader, somebody who needed to inspire and motivate and put things together. But usually he did not do it alone. Usually he needed to also create a group of leaders, what I call the multiple leaders below the leadership level. Now, what we've had as a gap in Nigeria right now is, I'll tell you, we have two major gaps. Number one, we have a gap in terms of the inspirationality of the leadership at the top. Mr. President at the moment has one strong thing. Everybody keeps on talking of his moral character. Everybody keeps on talking of his moral fiber. But where Mr. President has not clicked on it is the inspiration. You got to inspire people to want to become what they want to become. And to do that, you also need to get a second group of leaders, what you call the multi-level leadership. Someone said once that the greatest challenge facing leaders in the 21st century is to grow more leaders at all levels. So when we talk about leadership, what you are having actually in Nigeria is a situation where, because the top level of leadership is not coherent and cohesive, you are creating a situation whereby there is almost everybody who aspires to some form of leadership tries to set their own agenda, and every agenda is crashing against every agenda or every other agenda, because there is a bit of chaos in terms of the coherence that is needed. So when I talk about having multiple leaders, I'm not saying have a group of people that are following individual agendas. Like Mr. Omasai was saying, one of the first big challenges we have is that we've got to craft a national vision of where we want to go as a nation. It's when you craft a national vision, then other leaders will be encouraged to emerge within that vision, and also will be measured based on how much they are driving that vision.
Is that what? Is that what the First Lady saw? When we talk about leaders, and it looks as if what resonates in my head now is maybe different people assuming the role of leadership, when you have a leader who ordinarily should superintend over some of these people. So you have what you want to call a clique. Because in 2017, we have to see if we have a defined role for some of these people in government. And if we bring that warning or that comment, as it would seem, even though it was parried, with a joke by the president, is there any meat in what she said, given what played out before the end of 2016?
Well, I think one of the things that we're having as a challenge in a nation is this. We have the defined leaders, what I call the de jure leaders, the president and maybe the vice president, if you call him as his assistant. And then you have what seems to be happening to the public, what we call the de facto leaders, leaders that are unseen, who are driving agendas that we don't know. And one of the challenges is that when you see a lot of things happening, you end up finding that governance seems to be, there seems to be a lack of coherence in governance. And I believe maybe that's what she was referring to. But what leads to it and what lends to it is this. When government does not establish a clear-cut vision of what we want to achieve, the nation we want to build, the concept of where we want to go as a nation, first of all. And that clear-cut overall concept then has multiple component parts. It then becomes easy and very difficult. There's a statement in the Bible, in the book of Proverbs, that says, when there is no vision, the people run wild and they cast off restraints, fundamentally. And so there's a gap in which we need, the first key thing actually that we need to establish. Let's deal with issues first. First things first. Like Mark was asking about followership. Your followership have a role to play. We're talking about leadership. Leadership have a role to play. But if you follow the Pareto rule, 80-20 rule, you find out that there are a few small things that you can get right and get every other thing in place. And the number one thing that we need to get right as a nation is a shared picture of a future we seek to create. That's what Peter Senge calls vision. We need to say, look, this nation needs to become this. And for it to become this is what it... In fact, I like to tell people that when you define vision, you must define vision in the life of the individuals that are components of the overall picture. For example, you want to build an organization. You want to say this organization is made up of people who become like this. You want to build a nation. You want to say Nigeria is going to become a country where this and this and this and this will happen. I mean, in the US, you had a situation where the declarers of the independence said they wanted to build a nation that would be home of the brave, land of the brave, home of the free. There was a concept, a land where there will be a dream, there will be a reality. We need to go back and say, you know, when last year, 2 years ago, when the government came into place, I came on channels and I said, the government needs to define what it means, what it thinks change should mean. Where are we going? Then you can now begin to check whether the people who have power are driving their power for their own agenda or towards where we are. Then it becomes easier to deal with the check and balance.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm wondering if we've missed our chance because a lot of people will say that a lot of countries did that at the beginning. You talk about the United States; they have a group they call the Founding Fathers. In Ghana, they talk about Kwame Nkrumah. In Nigeria, I don't know who we will talk about. We of course have our Founding Fathers, but then when we talk about a vision, do we have that vision, or do you think we've missed our chance to create one, considering just how divided, you know, people can be, especially along party lines?
I don't think we have missed opportunities. But the good thing about it is that, like I said when I was talking about the beginning of the year, we can always go back. Our biggest challenge, I mean, take organizations, for example. Some organizations come close to bankruptcy and then turn around. So it's the fact that you run into problems and not the difficulty. The fact that you're falling down is not the problem. The big problem is the fact that you refuse to recognize why you fell down and refuse to address the problems that you're running into. Now, our challenge as a nation, and I want to be very frank, I mean, Jim Collins in the book Good to Great said something, that every organization that wants to grow must first of all face the brutal facts. And we have a challenge in our nation. When you come and give the brutal facts, it looks as if you have become an enemy of those who stand in office, right, trying to make them better. The big challenge we have right now is that the government needs to get people who will say things that